Let's Talk Money Moves with Nia, your new favorite spot to have real, down-to-earth discussions about all things personal finance. I'm Nia, your Chief Learning Officer, and this show is about making money conversations normal. We're creating a space to break down money moves together without judgment or pressure. Whether you're seasoned or just starting your journey to financial stability, we got something for everyone. My financial family will tap in sometimes just to share their knowledge and experiences, all to show you how to get your life right with money. So grab a drink and a blanket and let's talk about it. Sorry about that. So whatever channel you are watching this on, make sure you hit that like, follow, subscribe button so that you can catch the rest of it. So typically I'm going to go live. It's going to be different money topics. I'm going to bring in other financial experts to talk about it. This is specifically a session for the Money Mastery Academy. And the goal of this session today is we're going to talk a lot about retirement. So during this month, I got a lot of different questions and people who came to me asking about retirement and asking about what different things they can do and how they can prepare for retirement. So I wanted to come and bring this session here because I felt like this is something that we all need. This is something that we've talked about, something that we know about a little bit, but we don't really know exactly what to do. And a lot of us have fears surrounding retirement. We feel like we're not ready. We feel like it's not something we can get to. Oh, 1 second. But yeah, we feel like it's something that we want to do. We want to retire and we want to save. Good evening. Hey, Lisa, how you doing? We want to save and we want to prepare for retirement, but we feel like that it's something we can't do, or we feel like, oh, we're scared because we don't know exactly what we're supposed to do. So I felt like it was really important for me to focus on that this month so that I can bring in people to be able to just have a real conversation. And not even 50 yet, but beyond ready to retire, working towards fire. Oh, yes, working towards fire. So fire, she put in the chat for those of you who are not on YouTube that she's working towards fire, which is basically, well, you know what, I can put on the screen. Why am I explaining it? Basically, which means that financial independence, retire early. That's one of the reasons I think that retirement has been such a hot topic this month, because we tired. We tired. We tired of working. A lot of us have been working multiple jobs for multiple years. A lot of us have been raising kids, breaking down barriers in our family that have been going on for years, breaking curses, healing ourselves, trying to vacation, trying to give our children better lives. Like, we've been doing so many things that we're tired. And we know one thing for sure: we're not trying to work in our 70s. We're not trying to still be hitting the clock in our 70s. So when I say the topic of retirement has come up so much this month, that I had to come on here and talk about it. And of course, y'all know I always bring people with me. So today we are bringing to you Renee Collins. She owns, creator and founder of Retire Ready 2. She is a CPA and a CFP. CPA is an accountant. CFP is a financial planner. So she's going to come and talk to us about retirement. She's going to talk to us about what that looks like, what it even looks like working with a planner. Because if you feel like that you are unable to prepare for retirement by yourself, it's okay. There are professionals that are there and available to assist you, but you want to make sure that you're educated about it. So even if you do hire somebody to take on a task for you to assist you, you want to have a base of knowledge, because honestly, that's how we get basically separated from our money, because we don't have enough knowledge about the topic. So without further ado, I'm going to bring Renee up, let her introduce herself, tell you what she does, who she is, and all that great stuff. Welcome. Hey.
Hey there, how you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for coming.
Oh man, you don't have to thank me. I love coming on here talking about money.
Okay, right. We appreciate you. We appreciate you. So yeah, like I was saying, one of the things that I have been asked several times, like I even went on a cruise this month, and while I was on the cruise, we had people talking about retirement. So it's something that's really important. It's something that a lot of us have fear surrounding, and we're just kind of lost. So even if us, some of them that I've talked to people, and I'm sure you've seen this, even the people who are like, oh, I got this. I put money away to the side. I put money in my 401k, or I put money in my retirement, but they don't even know that that's not enough. You have to go and actually manage that money. You have to go and still tell that money where to go. Otherwise, it's either going to just sit there, or your employer will manage it, but they're not about to get too risky with your money. Like
At all.
they're gonna, be conservative. They don't want you, and then they have laws, that they need to remain in compliance. And we don't need to get into all of that, but they need to put it in something that's more secure and more conservative, because they want to put it, that's, they're trying to act as best in your interest as possible. So
Absolutely.
tell them who you are, tell them what you do, let them know.
All right, all right. Well, thank you. First of all, let me say thank you for allowing me to come on your platform and have this conversation. My name is Renee Collins, and I am certified as a public accountant, and I'm also certified as a financial planner. I'm the founder of a company called Retire Ready. Retire Ready is basically a registered investment advisory company. That's the technical name for it, but basically, it's a financial planning company. And my goal is to work with families as well as business owners, helping to educate them about money, helping them to develop a healthy relationship with their money so that they can save more, so that they can invest smart, and so that they can build wealth. And my firm is a little bit different in that I work with people who are usually getting a late start on retirement. So they're usually in their 40s, anywhere up to maybe even in their 60s, and they haven't been saving enough for retirement, and they want someone who is going to provide them with some guidance. And that's what I do. My clients are first generation wealth builders, so they are the first in their family who have gone to college, first in their family who are earning a six-figure income, and they have a lot of questions. They have a lot of questions, and they want to work with someone who's going to help provide them with answers, and not just come in and say, hey, how much money do you have to invest? They want to work with someone that is going to provide them with some guidance, to educate them and help them to make better financial decisions with their money. So that's what my firm does. Like I said, it's a little bit different from the average financial planning company, but I love the work that I do because we also focus on the holistic, the financial well-being, which is very important when you're trying to build wealth, because it all starts with the mindset. It starts with making sure that we have a mindset that is poised for wealth. So that's my company, and that's what I do, and that's how I help people. You on mute, darling.
Glasses and the jacket and the lips, like we see you over there with your pink.
It's Friday. It's kind of casual today. You guys can't see the shirt, but the shirt actually says the future is female. Let's see if I
Oh,
can actually,
show us,
if I
show
can
us.
actually stand up. It says the future is female.
Yeah, because we do informal on here, because money talks are normal. Money talks
Right,
are informal. Money talks don't need to be formal. They don't need to be dressed up. Money talks, we
right.
can have money talk in a bonnet. You know what I'm
Right,
saying?
right. We need to keep money real,
Yeah,
keep
exactly.
it, yeah, keep it real, and that's pretty much how, I like to talk to my clients about it. Is just, let's just have these honest, real conversations around money. We don't do that enough.
We don't.
Hmm.
And so I was actually kind of talking to my friend this morning, and I was telling her, because a lot of times I hear people say, oh well, I'm bad with money, or oh, I'm just not good with that, and or nobody ever taught me that. And so one of the things I think a lot of people don't realize is, so my parents are kind of young compared to a lot of others' parents, but my parents were born in the 60s. The
Okay.
law that governs the retirement income the way it is today didn't exist then.
Right.
It didn't come out until the 70s. So my point in saying that is they couldn't teach you because that ain't how retirement worked then.
Exactly. They didn't know.
They didn't know because that's their parents couldn't teach them because their parents didn't have to worry about this.
Exactly.
So that's when I hear
Exactly.
people make all the comments and they talk about how with the interest rates and they're like, oh well, the interest rates were 12%. Yeah, but y'all wasn't responsible for y'all retirement. Y'all houses was
Right.
$12,000. I'll take three $12,000 houses with 12% income, please. For 300, Alec. Like, come on.
Right.
So that's one of the things we don't realize. Like, it's no reason to beat yourself up or it wasn't like that. This is something that's new. And this is something that, again, we're having to be first generation. We are the first generation
Yep.
that retirement worked like this our entire lives. Because when
Exactly.
our parents were born, most of their lives, well, not most of their lives, but a big chunk of their lives, but when they first started. So they couldn't learn about it.
Right.
They had to just come out there like that swinging because they
Right,
didn't know.
exactly. And they
They
just
didn't
figured it out as they went. Absolutely. And
know. Yeah.
I think you bring up a good point that I just want to touch on a little bit. And that is, our parents didn't have they were operating out a different playbook, so to
Mm.
speak. You know what I mean? So just like you said, they had pensions. My mom graduated from high school and she worked at the post office. You didn't
My
need a
grandfather worked
degree.
at, well, those who don't know, I worked at the post office 8 years, but my grandfather worked at the post office also. That's where he retired from. So
Yeah,
yeah,
see? Exactly.
they
Exactly.
work steel mills and factories where they got a pension, and
That's
the
right.
employer was responsible for saving for their retirement.
Exactly. They didn't have student loans. Come
Not
on
like
now.
these.
They
Even
didn't
if
have
they
student
did, they
loans.
were like these.
They didn't have student loans, and even when I went to school, I came out of undergrad. I think my student loans were like maybe $7, $8,000. These kids coming out, their student loans are a grip. They're 30,000 on average.
Yes, check on the
Yes.
performance and the fee. Oh, yes, the F word. That's the real
Mm-hmm.
F word. People talk about fuck. Fuck ain't it. Fees. Fees is the real F word. Like,
Girl, come
we
on.
need to be worried about. Don't be offended because they said fuck. Be offended because they said the fees. That's
Right.
what we need to be offended about because
Absolutely.
it's absolutely ridiculous some of the
Yeah.
ways that these fees are added up or with some of these products that they put you in, and it's essentially really just for them to line
Right.
their pockets.
Exactly. That's why it's so important that
Mhm.
we understand investment. And one of the things that you said too that I think is really key is that we have to stay engaged in the process. So even if you hire a planner, right?
Mhm.
Make sure you understand what it is that that planner is recommending for you, especially if they're recommending a product. Work with a planner who has a fiduciary status. That's
Oh,
important because
another
that
F
means
word that's important.
there's another F word. Girl, we need to do something. Wait a minute, let me get my pen.
So while you get your pen, I'm gonna break down what a fiduciary is.
Yes, girl, go ahead and break down what a fiduciary
So
is.
a fiduciary is somebody who has authority over your assets, but they have a set responsibility to them as well. So you have different type of planners. Some of them are fee based and some of them are commission based, which means they get paid different ways. But you want somebody who's a fiduciary. And the reason why is because if they're a set fiduciary, there are laws that hold them to certain standards that others don't have to deal
Exactly.
with. They are laws that they have to be prudent in the way they handle your money, which means they have to handle your money in a way that's in your best interest, which means that if you can get a better rate on this fund, they cannot go put you in this fund over here that they uncle got that he said come get, and we're going to give you extra money if you put them over here. If
Right.
they did something like that, it would be repercussions, and then you could get in trouble and they can report them and they can lose their license and never be able to be an advisor again. So you want somebody who has that type of stuff. They got a lot to lose,
Right,
essentially.
exactly. And then if a fiduciary, they must disclose any conflicts. So
Yes.
if there's a conflict, they have to disclose that. They're required by law to disclose that. So if you're looking at a planner and you're trying to decide if you want to work with someone, the first question out of my mouth would be, are you a fiduciary? because you, like I said, nugget. Okay. We should have that ring. Remember? Oh my goodness. Yes, honey. So yeah, that's important, that the understanding the understanding the fees, understanding what investment products that someone is recommending for you. And if someone is recommending an investment product that they cannot explain to you, like you are a first grader, you don't need to be in that product. And I'm just going to be honest, so, make sure that you understand, what you are invested in. I don't like fast talking people. And, sometimes these salespeople, they're talking so fast that you can't understand what the product is that they're putting you in. you know, if someone is talking to you like that, you need to tell them, you know what, just let's put this on pause for a second and break this down to me, and have them explain it to you in a way that, a fifth grader can understand it. That's important. Do not invest in anything that you do not understand.
Right. And if you're asking them questions about something and you're talking and they don't understand it in a way that they can repeat it back to you and explain it, you
Right.
shouldn't be investing with them because
Don't
they don't,
invest.
that means they don't even understand the products
Yep.
that they are selling to you. I get it all the time because I work in personal finance. I get people who approach me who want me to like join their group or join, and then
Mhm.
they'll tell me about the different something that they have, and then I'll ask them a question about it, about either
Mhm.
one of the riders or about like one of the features, especially with annuities, because I always ask them,
Mm.
okay, so do you have an annuity, like if the person dies, does what happens with the money? Oh, well,
Right.
I don't really know. Huh?
Ooh, really?
Bring that back again? So you out here trying to tell people to get into annuities and you're not sure if
Mhm.
they lose all of their money and not able to leave it
Right.
to somebody else after? That's
Exactly.
pretty important.
It's very important, because I mean, you can give an annuity company $300,000, die a year later, and so they still got a pot of money, and it'll go back to the annuity company unless you get, like a refund option or something on that annuity. So that's just something to make sure that you understand. Very important.
Yes. Yes. So we are going to get into, we have some questions that we already got. So you let me know how you want to do it. Do you want to answer the questions that we already got first, then get into what we're going to talk about, and then we could take whatever questions they have after the fact?
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Okay. So I'm just going to go down the list of the questions because
Mhm.
I kind of told them
Mhm.
ahead of time, and I had people who they were ready.
Okay.
Okay. um, so somebody asks, what are my options for life insurance policies now that I'm planning for retirement? Is my current employer sponsored plan important? Okay, so there's two different questions. Now, the life insurance is part of retirement. If you want to answer that, you can, but I feel like that's not necessarily about what we're talking
I,
about today.
I think that if you're talking about life insurance can be a part of an estate planning piece of retirement planning. But if you're getting life insurance, the first step is understanding what is the objective. What is it? Why do you want the life insurance? Typically, life insurance is to replace your income, or to, if we're just talking about life insurance, I'm gonna leave it there. I'm not going to get into like annuities or anything, even though it's a form of insurance. But life insurance is really to replace your income for someone who depends upon your income. So if you have children and something happens to you, then you want to make sure your kids are going to be taken care of. That's where the life insurance comes into play. I'm going to talk a little bit more about this life insurance because I spoke with someone last week, and she wanted to utilize life insurance as a part of her retirement plan, so she can build, her retirement plan. But she didn't have a retirement investment in place. So she didn't even have like a 401k or an IRA, but there's such a push for this life insurance, like on social media platforms, that, oh, this is great tool that you can build wealth and it's tax free. And so they talk about all of these benefits, but you have to put a lot of money into life insurance before you can even get a cash value benefit. Life insurance is very expensive if you're trying to use it for a retirement planning tool. So I'm not sure what her, like what her question is around, if she's on or he is on, if they can, break that down a little bit more, maybe I can, add some more context around it. But life insurance is generally to replace your income for those who depend on your income should something happen to you. You're on mute, Nia.
I don't know if she's on or not,
Okay.
but if she does, she's gonna watch it on the
Okay.
replay. I'll let you know.
Okay.
So the next question is my current employer sponsored plan portable, or will I need a new one?
Well, it really depends. So for to be honest with you, if you have like a 401k, 403b, so what'd you say, hon?
It might be kind of yes and no.
It could be. All depends on what's been contributed into it, right? Because if you're making contributions into a 401k plan, those contributions, those are yours, and you can take them with you. Okay. A lot of employers will allow you to leave your contributions in their plan if it's like over $1,000. They'll let you leave it there. Some of them will force you to take it out if it's under $1,000. But oftentimes you can leave it there. Now, if your company is also matching that money, they may have a vesting schedule. And so that vesting schedule is going to dictate whether or not you can take their money with you. So when I talk about a vesting schedule, basically what that is let's assume that they're matching you, up to a certain percentage, and their matching contribution is $1,000. And they have a vesting schedule. That vesting schedule could be either what is it, like a 3-year cliff, or it could be over a period of time. Okay. And so if it's over a period of time, then it may be such that year one, maybe you don't vest anything. Year two, maybe you invest like 20%, so they'll have a vesting schedule. Take a look at your summary plan documents to see if they have some type of vesting schedule, when it comes to those matching dollars, because you may not be able to take those dollars with you. And this is important because I worked with a client a couple years ago, and her firm did have a vesting schedule, and it was stock. So they were investing stock, matching her stock purchase. She didn't look at her summary plan documents. She left. She left that company before her money vested. We're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars. Hundreds of thousands of dollars. And she didn't realize it till after the fact. And this actually put her behind in her retirement.
I can see that. So just to kind of break that down into simpler terms. So essentially, a vesting schedule is the schedule in which the money that your employer is putting in your plan becomes yours.
Yep.
And you get to take it with you. So you have to look and see what that schedule looks like. How long are they? Because they determine the rules. When they give you all that paperwork when you get hired, or they tell you to log into that portal to have all the access, they did their part. Their role, their job is they have to disclose it to you, and they have to make it available to you. At that point, it's up to you to actually go and look at it. And we're actually talking a lot about like maximizing your HR with your retirement plan. That's the next live I'm doing on the 30th. So I won't get too deep into that, but knowing that's important, because I tell people all the time, a lot of times we get emotional and we're like, oh, I'm leaving, I'm tired of this place. That's something very important to look at.
Absolutely.
To determine like, ooh, well, I could stay at 6 more months to get this.
If that means $100,000 in my bank account.
So
absolutely.
Yeah, so that's something that you definitely want to look at and you want to pay attention to. So as far as portability, what would you say about if the plan has portability or not, or
yes, yeah, absolutely. So if you leave a company, you can, like I said, either leave the money there, or you could take your money with you. You could take it and you can roll it over into, depending on what type of dollars we're talking about. If we're talking pre-tax dollars, that's a traditional 401k. You could take that money and roll it over into a traditional IRA. or if it is, maybe a lot of these employers now, they have Roth 401ks. And
Yeah.
so and so you can take that money and you can roll it over into a Roth IRA. You can even roll over a traditional 401k into a Roth IRA. However, there's going to be some taxes
Nugget.
happening. It's going to be some taxes happening. I love that. Yeah. So if that's something that you wanted to do, that's a strategy. That's a part of a retirement planning strategy. Actually, is to take a portion of your traditional IRA or your traditional 401k and roll it over into your Roth. You pay taxes when you convert it. It's called a Roth conversion. But people do that because they want to have tax flexibility in retirement.
Yes, because the taxes now obviously are lower than the taxes you will be, receiving when you're in retirement. So
Yeah,
even if
yeah,
they
that's
get
the
taxed at
impact.
that point, it's still going to be less than the taxes they would get taxed on that money in retirement, and it's going to be more money by retirement because of compound interest. Like it's strategizing. It's all about strategy, and
It
that's
is
why
about
these conversations
strategy.
are
And
so important.
I don't think people plan for retirement enough. They'll throw, even people who are like, contributing into their 401k, they're putting the money in there. So they're in that accumulation phase where they're accumulating. But, they're not, couple things. They're not thinking about what happens on the other side when you have to start taking that money out. Most people are investing, utilizing, some type of qualified plan, 401k, 43B, 457B, one of their retirement plans with their employer. And that's where all their money is. And so when they get ready to retire, a portion of money is going to be taxed. You got to remember, you at that point, you are in bed with the government. So all of that money that you've been putting into that account on a tax deferred basis, Uncle Sam is saying, okay, thank you. Where's mine? Hello, where's mine? So they're going to want a portion of that, create a plan. Yeah, create a plan. That's right. Create a plan such that you have some money that's going into your employer's account, your pre-tax. And if they offer you a Roth, definitely a Roth 401k option, definitely, try to take advantage of it if you can. Maybe you can put 50% in the traditional, 50% into that Roth 401k. And even if they don't offer that, you can get a Roth outside of your employer. If your income, that's right, you can. So, and here's the reality of that situation: just about anybody can get money in a Roth. So either you're going to get it in on the front end or you're going to get it in on the back end, but you can get money into a Roth. So I would definitely recommend that you put money towards your future in a Roth. And there's also a taxable brokerage account that a lot of people don't utilize as a retirement planning tool, but your money doesn't, any money you contribute to it, it's not going to grow on a tax deferred or tax free basis, but it is going to get capital gains treatment. And capital gains is basically the taxes that you pay for investments. And the capital gains rates are 0, 15, and 20%. Okay. And so it's possible for, say, a married couple, to make $90,000 a year and pay 0 capital gains tax. Come on now, that's planning. That's planning. We have to plan for our future. So if you take money out of your 401k, you're going to be paying whatever tax bracket you're in. Our tax brackets go all the way up to 37%. So you got to plan. Got to plan for your money, because when you get ready to retire, you want to have that flexibility, and to the extent possible, if you can remove some of that tax uncertainty, let's do it. Because right now, our taxes are the lowest that they ever been. And if you pay attention to CNBC or any of the, just watch the news, that at some point in time these taxes are going to have to go up. The government is spending so much money. Just take a look at, they spending money on Ukraine. They spending money on this war
Everybody.
over in Gaza. At some point in time, you're gonna have to pay. And the way they're gonna pay is gonna be to increase the taxes. So
Okay, next
plan for
question.
your taxes.
How to prepare for retirement? So I realize this is it's a general question. So if you have like maybe like steps, maybe they need to take these 4 steps or something like that, I think that would be a great um
Absolutely. Absolutely. So when you're talking about planning for retirement, one of the things you have to do is just think about, what does retirement look like? To me, that's the first question. You got to have some vision of retirement, and if retirement is, say, 20, 30 years away, it's hard to visualize, oh my gosh, what am I going to be doing 30 years from now? What does that look like? I really don't know. Just start with where you are today. Just start with, what are some of the activities that you enjoy doing today? What are some of the things that you want to do today? And that's your starting point. So use that as your starting point. That's really step one there, is visualizing, what retirement is going to look like. If retirement is so far out into the future that you can't even visualize that right now, that's okay. Just start with where you are today. That's step one. And then the second step is really going to be thinking about, okay, how much is retirement going to cost me? Again, if retirement is, you should be able to estimate this if retirement is, say, like 5 years or so away. But again, if it's much further out, start with where you are today. Take a look at your budget today and say, okay, this is what I spent. I spend X number of dollars, on my lifestyle. And most planners, and I don't like general terms, but for a question like that, that's kind of broad based, I'm going to use a kind of a general rule of thumb. And that is, retirement planners will often say that you're going to need anywhere between 75% to 85% of your income, whatever income you're making today, you're going to need that in retirement. Okay, so you could start with that. You can just start with, okay, let me just assume that I'm going to need 75 to 85% of my income that I'm consuming today into retirement. So that's step two. Okay, you got to visualize what retirement's going to look like. And then step two, you got to kind of put a budget around that vision. A vision has a cost. Our goals have a cost. So we have to determine, what is that going to cost us? The next step is going to be determining, how much income do I need to fund my vision, to fund, my expenses. That's going to be the next step. Take a look at your Social Security. You can go to the Social Security Administration's website, and they will have your annual statement out there. If you're getting Social Security, go out there and take a look at your statement to see, when you're ready to retire, whether you're going to retire at 66, 67, or whatever, they list your estimated benefit on that statement. So take a look at that to see, what income could I get from Social Security? If you are one of the blessed people who get a pension, then take a look at your pension statement to see, how much can you anticipate on receiving for a pension. And then see if that pension even has like some type of a COLA. COLA is basically like an inflation adjustment. See if it has something like that associated with it. Most pensions do not, but again, you could be one of the lucky ones to have that. So you want to get a sense of what your lifetime income is going to be. Once you know that, then what we do is we compare your lifetime income to your estimated expenses to get a sense of what are the gaps that are there. And if there's some gaps there, then we got to figure out, how do we fill that gap? So just to give you an example, let's assume that you determine that your lifestyle is about $3,000 a month. Okay, these are really low numbers, but let's go with it. Okay, so let's assume it's like $3,000, right? And that you're going to get, lifetime income of Social Security of about $2,000. Now that's going to leave you with $1,000 gap. We got to figure out how we're going to fill that gap. And that gap is going to be filled based on the pot of money that you save. And one way to figure that out is that there's so many calculators online. There are retirement calculators online that you can utilize. One of my favorite is Vanguard. Vanguard has a retirement income calculator. You can go out there and you can put in all this information that I'm telling you, and Vanguard will tell you, based on these inputs, this is how much you should be saving for retirement. And I'll say this too, is that when you're far away from retirement, when I say far, I'm talking more than 10 years out, these type of tools can provide some guidance. As you get closer to retirement, I definitely recommend that you start having a conversation with a planner, because there are a lot of moving parts, a lot of things that you want to take into consideration, like long-term care. You got to take a look at Medicare, medical benefits. I think Fidelity estimated that a couple would end up spending something like over $350,000 in retirement just on medical expenses. Medical is expensive.
It
When I
is.
talk to clients or people who have already retired, and they thought that they had figured out how much that they were going to need in retirement, the one thing that they all say is that I did not estimate how much
You
medical
just that was
expenses.
one of my questions I was going to ask at the end. Like, what do you think is one of the biggest
It
missteps
is.
when planning for
It's
retirement? So
medical.
answer that
It's
question already.
medical.
We'll cross that one out.
Yeah,
'Cause
it
you
is. It's
answered it already.
medical because the premiums are high and people get their Medicare and they feel like, oh, Medicare is going to take care of everything. I just spoke with a gentleman 2 weeks ago, and we were just on back of the napkin calculator, calculation. How much is your expenses? How much are, what income you have coming in? And then we got to the medical care, the medical piece, and he was like, oh, I didn't know that Medicare wouldn't cover long-term care. Mm-mm. It does not, you know, and that there's still going to be deductibles that you're going to have to pay. There are going to be
Mhm,
co-pays that you're
mhm.
going to have to make. And a lot of people don't take those things into consideration. And, if you're like, if your expenses are 2,000 and your income, is like 2,100, baby, you may not be time. It may not be time for you. Not yet. And if you're in a situation like that too, then just think about, maybe you could, work in a different job. If you're at a place where you're like, I'm sick and tired of this job. I can't do
Mhm.
this anymore. You know what I mean? And there are cases like that. And then
Oh,
there are also cases where people don't have a choice. Sometimes they get pushed out, you
mhm.
know? And so, if you're in a situation like that, crunch your numbers, and figure out, do I have enough in my retirement pot to cover the gap? Now, again, here's another general rule, that basically, once you've established your pot of money, let's say you've managed to put away, a couple $100,000, right? And so, people come and say, well, I put away $200,000. I feel like I should be able to retire. The general rule, the general distribution rule is that, um, that pot of money, in order to not to run out of money in retirement, you don't want to take any more than 3 to 4% out of that pot of money on an annual basis. Okay, so let's say it's 200,000 when you get ready to retire. 3% of that is what, $6,000? You know,
I don't
that's
know.
not,
I mean, like, don't
that's
get
not
me wrong.
that's
I'm a
not going to take care of the gap.
budgetista, but I don't think I can do $6,000 a year.
That's what I'm saying, though. But
I,
that's
I
how.
I can't budget that. I can't even budget that good.
Yep. And so, and that's one of the biggest fears that retirees have, is running out of money.
Hmm.
So if you got a pot of money and it's like $200,000 and your income and your expenses are tight, you know, you may want to think about it a little bit longer. I mean, 200,000 for, it is a lot, but is it enough?
Okay, so next question is, this is funny because the next question literally says insurance options if you retire before 65 to receive Medicare, projected healthcare costs.
Ah,
That was one of the questions.
yes, 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 yes. So if you are a part of the FIRE movement, you know,
So this is not the same young lady who is a part of it. This is someone else's question.
okay. but it's going to be along the same line, because
Okay.
people who retire early, they have to think about these things. They have to think about, okay, what am I going to do for insurance options before I hit Medicare age, and in those cases you got to go on the exchange. You go on the exchange, or if you leave your employer and they allow you to have Cobra, for 18 months or so, which can get pretty expensive,
Yeah, I
you
was gonna.
know so I mean, that's an option, but I would definitely say go to the exchange to see what options they have on the exchange. And you can just go out there, create an account.
That's the nugget.
Yeah,
Because
okay.
that's something that I don't think people think about.
Mm-hmm.
Go. So the nugget is that don't wait. Go and look and see how much it would cost on the exchange now.
Absolutely.
So you
Yes.
can see what that cost will look like, and then you can
Yep.
factor that into what income you need
Yep.
to retire.
Absolutely. You can
That's
make that a,
that's
yeah,
the
you
that's
okay, girl. I need one of them rings.
so look,
I love that.
they
Yeah,
can't
you
tell me
can.
that now.
Yeah, that's you know what? That's a great question. And I mean that's somebody who's thinking in a forward basis. Someone who's like,
That's
okay,
somebody who's
well,
tired
if
and ready
if
to
I know that I want to
retire.
do this, then let me go out here and figure out how can I estimate that now.
She
Yes.
got more questions too. She got another.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh, next one. Okay. Oh, is a financial advisor needed?
For what? It all depends on what it is you're trying to do.
So that's my thing. Like when it comes to
Hmm.
questions like that, I typically tell like personal finance is personal.
Yep.
So it's going to depend on your knowledge, your abilities with investing and preparing for
Yep.
retirement. If you feel like it's something that you get overwhelmed with and you're not, able to do it and you need help, then yes. But if you're able to manage it, you are able to people DIY it all the time. Um,
Exactly. Let me just
Based
add on
on
to
you.
something.
And
Let me just add on to something. So again, when we're talking about the accumulation phase, that's that stage where you're building up that pot of money for retirement, right? For
mhm.
that part, in all honesty, is not that hard, because you can do that with a good set of index funds. You just got to be consistent, and then go grab a calculator or something. Vanguard or Bankrate, they all have great calculators, to get a sense of, okay, am I moving in the right direction? Am I saving enough? But again, I believe that when you get about 10 years, within 10 years, 5 to 10 years, of retirement, bring a planner in. Start having that conversation, because there are a few things that a planner is going to want to do. They are going to want to make sure that you have a pot of money set aside for the medical. The medical is the big one. The long-term care, that's a big one. They want to make sure that you have a pot of money for that. They want to make sure that you have some type of distribution strategy in place. The number one fear of retirees is, am I going to run out of money? Well, we got to have a distribution strategy in place to make sure that you're not going to run out of money. Okay. So those things are really important. So I would say that if you're comfortable, if you're a reader and you don't mind going out here and, reading and learning about investments and, understanding how index funds work, and using some of these calculators, maybe even getting to some of these Facebook groups, they got I think Fire has a Facebook group, or Choose Fire or something like that.
They had several.
Yeah, exactly.
They
So,
even have one like
get
with
yourself in a
government employees.
community.
They even have some with government employees, like because they have different type of retirement plans where they work together and have the
Hmm.
different strategies to
Yep,
invest and all of that. Like there's several. Like
exactly. So I would say get yourself in a community, and you can ramp up that accumulation phase. But again, when you get about 5 years away from retirement, I would bring in a planner, because things can get a little bit more complex.
so, what was the time frame you said again?
For getting a planner,
Yeah, you said how
I
close?
said between 10 to 5 years. I would say that if you're at that 10-year period where you're like, okay, retirement is going to be in about 10 years, I would bring in a planner to start having that conversation about, am I missing anything? Are there any gaps that I have in my plan? And a planner can help you with that. And then when you get to 5 years, you should be really tightening up some things. You got to start moving some money around, because as you go into retirement, we have this thing that's called sequence of risk, and that's basically, as you get closer to retirement, you need to be moving your portfolio from one that is, when you're accumulating, typically it's going to be a little bit more riskier. And then as you start to get closer to retirement, you want that retirement, that pot of money, to go a little bit conservative, but not too conservative, because most people are living, they're living in retirement 20, 30 years. So you still need to have your money growing for you.
This is a great discussion. It
Oh,
is
good.
good. I'm glad you're enjoying it.
So am I. Thank you.
Okay. Oh, this is a good question. She came ready. Well, she had one, two, three, four, five. Yeah, so she kind of had five questions. Okay.
Oh,
The
good.
next one is the ideal retirement age. Like, how do you determine when it's okay to retire?
Ooh, that is a good
That's a good
question.
question. You
So,
see,
yeah.
if you can't tell, she's trying to get it together.
Yeah, somebody's thinking. So this is what I would say. Okay, so as you plan for retirement, right? It's all about the dollars. We have to make sure that we have our expenses. This is one of the things I would tell you to do is take a look at just your basic expenses, kind of like what I call your baseline expenses, your housing, your food, your transportation. What else you can have? Your utilities. Just kind of baseline that and see how much is that. Just my basics, almost as similar to like when you're thinking about an emergency fund. So just kind of think about your baseline expenses, and do you have your
I was just
lifetime
like, and
income?
include healthcare.
Oh, and don't forget healthcare. Oh, girl, yeah. Oh, yeah. That's the one I forgot. Healthcare. You got to have that healthcare in there. That's so important. That's the one I missed. But get those baseline expenses, right? And then compare that to your income. And when I'm talking about income, I'm talking about the income that you can depend on for the rest of your life, and see where is that. Okay. If it's like right here, you're probably going to be okay as far as meeting your basic expenses. But life is not just us living a basic life. We don't
Especially
have
not in
time.
retirement.
Not in retirement. You want to be able to
Nobody,
travel. Yes, you want to be able to
nobody had
travel and do
no
things.
walking around here like, oh, I can't wait to start working so I could do nothing.
Exactly.
Nobody ever said like people
Exactly.
are wanting to
Exactly.
retire because they want to be able to rest, they want to travel, they want to, catch all the big moments with their family. They
Yep.
might want to spend more time with their grandchildren. Like it's because they want to do things.
Right. They want to cross things off that bucket list.
Correct. They want to cross things off their bucket list. There go
Hmm.
another great one. So it's
Yep.
like, but if you are trapped in the house because you can't afford to do anything, so
Right.
this is what we mean when we always talk about like making the sacrifices now and
Hmm.
making the changes and adjustments. Like life happens. Like I always share my own personal story. Like as we all know, I just relocated, and once I got here, decided to buy a house. So got my little budget right here, put it in my spreadsheet today, and I made cuts. Like I cut my personal training for the summer.
Hmm.
I,
Hmm.
I, I sat down today, like, okay, now that I got all, I've actually officially received a bill from every, person, so I can
Hmm.
figure out how much everything costs because
Right.
I didn't have it before because it was so new. I just moved here. I didn't know what it looked like, but
Exactly.
I sat down, I got a list of everybody now. And I'm like, okay, yeah, because I want to recoup the money that I spent
Hmm.
to do
Right.
what I just did. Because, of course,
Hmm.
obviously, that changed my program that I might have had. That probably just pushed my retirement back,
Hmm.
from my plan. So I'm like, okay, you got to go. You got to go. I was just, everybody was getting the boot today. Like, oh,
Right.
y'all
Right.
just out
Right.
of my wallet. All y'all out of my wallet. Like, but
Exactly.
that's what you got to do.
Yeah.
So it's great. I love the questions that everybody is asking. I'm glad to see people like interested in this topic.
Engaged in it. Yeah.
Because it's what we really really need.
Yep.
um
Absolutely. I agree.
so that actually was her last question. So
Okay.
now we can actually get into the session. Like we've talked like it's almost in.
No, that's okay. That's okay. That's really good. Like I said, if you're not sure, I think the biggest question that I get from people is really they're not sure how much to save. Like I said,
Agreed.
there are a lot of calculators out there. I could give you general rules. I could tell you, take your expenses minus, your guaranteed income, social security, pension, that type of stuff. If you plan on getting an annuity, you can add all of that in. And then, they'll say, no, the general rule. I don't like general rules, but if it means that we can get people moving, you know
Yeah.
what I'm saying, then I'm all for it. But when it gets down to it, personal finance, as we've been saying here, is just that, it's personal. What applies to one person may not necessarily apply to you. But here's another one I'm gonna throw out there, another general rule. Basically, take your expenses, figure out what all your guaranteed income is, subtract that, and then whatever that number is left, that gap, you can multiply that by 25, and that'll give you like a pot of money. The only problem with that is that, it is not indexed for inflation. And that's another thing. Ooh, girl, forgot about inflation. We can't forget about inflation. We can't forget about healthcare, because inflation, all we got to think about is like, what was the price of stamps about 20 years ago, 20,
As
25 years ago?
well, I can't tell you about 24 years ago, but as a former mail carrier, stamps used to be like 29 cents, I
Yep,
believe, when I
yep,
started working at the
yep,
postal service, and it's now 50 something.
yep, exactly, exactly.
If
So
stamps are increasing,
yeah, everything is increasing, and I mean, right now the prices of and I know I'm kind of frugal, but I'm just
like
like,
those
Lord have
baby
mercy.
those baby books, like you know how you get that book when your child is little, and it say,
Hmm.
"What was the cost of a gallon of milk? What was the cost of a
Yes,
loaf of bread?" Baby, I'm gonna look at my daughters to see what the price was when
yes,
because I know the price is crazy.
yeah, exactly.
Just in the time, well, I know we got a lot going on over that part of the world, but just in the time that I have moved here, gas prices have gone up by like 60, 70 cents.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep,
I've been here 6 months.
yep, yep.
Like,
Yeah, it's expensive. It is. I mean, and like I said, prices are going up. I mean, all we gotta do is just take a look at college.
that's another
College, the price of college has gone up much faster than the average inflation. And
healthcare.
then here's another thing that I want to say,
People who are sickly
especially.
and
Hmm?
deathly ill who refuse to go to the doctor because the hospital bill gonna kill them.
Yeah,
So they just rather enjoy whatever last moments they got in pain because the hospital bill gonna send them over because it's gonna
yeah,
financially deplete them.
yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. A lot of people are really nervous about the healthcare, in general, because it can get expensive. It really can. But the one thing I want to say that I see in practice, so a lot of things that I'm giving to you guys today are just things that I see in practice. This is real world things that are happening, real situations with families. Is families that are taking on student loans for their kids.
Oh, that's a good one. Yes. Let me give
Yes,
you the
because
solo layout for that because I think this is a huge one. And I think it's a big one because a lot of schools push for their parents to do this
yes, they
because
do.
they include retirement income as a part of your income when they're calculating your ability to pay, which I've
Mhm.
always thought that was when I found that out when
Well,
my daughter was in college.
I thought they took that out.
I hope they do. Well, this is when my daughter was first born. So my daughter, she's 23. She'll be 23 next month. So this was like they must have did it recently.
So okay, so the way I understand it is that they do not calculate your pot of money. So if you have a 401k, okay, they won't count that as a part of your ability to pay tuition. However, if you take a distribution from that 401k, then they will count the distribution.
So when I was applying for college for her, that's what they were including it because I hadn't
Yeah.
taken distributions at the time.
Yeah,
Uh,
I wouldn't be surprised, but the government, they recognize that, look, if we don't
Good.
let these people leave their money in these plans, we're gonna have to take care of them. And I mean, we're in a retirement crisis right now.
That's
People
the thing.
don't
Like
they don't have the money.
retirement money now become they college fund. So
You can't do that.
forget me. But okay,
Yeah.
I'm gonna give you so you can go ahead and talk on it. I think that's a huge, like that's a good one. I'm glad you remembered that one.
Mhm. Okay, so what am I talking about? You got another question, or what do you want me to talk about?
You were about to expand on people who take out loans for their,
Oh,
paying
for the
student
kids.
loans for
Yes,
their
yes, yes.
children or depleting their retirement to fund their child's education.
Yes, absolutely. So I just want, it's more just a comment, an observation that I see in practice, and that is, families that, want to fund their children's education. And listen, I get it. We want more for our babies than we had, if possible. I would recommend trying to fund a 529 plan now. If you can do that, you can even have grandparents, help fund the 529 plan, help, get the kids to maybe even get a job, when they're in high school, to help them to save for college. Any and everything that you can do in advance is going to help. Don't just assume that, oh, my kid is going to go to college in the next couple of years. It doesn't make sense for me to try to do anything. Every little bit helps, even if it's just paying for the books. Because again, what I see in practice is that parents are taking out these plus loans. And plus loans, to me, they like the stepchild of all student loans, because student loans, your kids' student loans, they're going to have options on paying those back. In some cases, they only have to pay back like maybe 5% of their income towards those student loans, and they can get those student loans, forgiven a lot faster. When you're taking out these plus loans, if you try to do like say some type of income contingent plan, they're going to base it on 20% of your income. So if you got, your payments are going to be based on 20% of the income. So let's say you make $100,000, right? They take out this little, little line item for like poverty level, which is probably like maybe $15,000 or something. It's depending on your family size as well. But let's just assume it's just one person and your salary is like 100,000, they take out like 15,000 or so for that poverty line adjustment. That 85,000 that's left, 20% of that is going towards paying those student loans. Okay, that's on an income contingent plan. That's a lot of money, to go towards student loans. And then a lot of these families, they're taking these student loans right into retirement, and they don't have the salary that they had pre-retirement. So I'm just going to say, just be careful taking on these plus loans. I don't like plus loans because there's no limit. They're giving plus loans to families who make 50, $60,000, and the families end up with $100,000 in plus loans. I'm just like, how is that possible? And then the government doesn't want to forgive plus loans, so they'll do it, but you have to have made payments on them for about 20 years.
Exactly. And that's what I was coming in to say, because I
Yep.
have a coworker who, work for the government. We qualify for the public service loan
Mm-hmm.
forgiveness. So she hit her 120 payments, hit her 10 years, got her loans forgiven. Guess
Right.
what wasn't forgiven? Her plus loans. Because
Yeah.
like you said, her plus loans, she hadn't had those for 10 years. So
Yeah.
she has to go through the process again
Yeah.
with the plus loans to get them forgiven also. And they
Like I
start
said,
later.
stepchild. Plus loans are the stepchild student loans. So
Baby.
be careful taking out those plus loans. I would tell people, figure out a way to get your babies through school, with the least amount of debt, and just do your best not to take on those plus loans. And if you have to take them on, try to figure out how to get that into your budget. Put that in your budget. People are just taking on these loans without even figuring out how they're going to pay for it. They just taking them and they like, I don't know. I guess they're just I'm gonna have them in retirement. They're not thinking it through. They're not thinking these plus loans through, So I would say to definitely think it through, and then to have that conversation with your kids. If your kids, they want to go to a private college and you don't have the resources, you got to have those conversations. Nobody said it was going to be easy, but you got to have those conversations. You might have to say, baby, that community college right down the street.
That's what I was about to say. That's what I about to say. So
Come
again,
on.
my daughter's 23. And even for myself also, because I funded my own education. So I have student loans, but I only took out student loans for my master's. But
Mm-hmm.
before that, I went to community college, got my associates, transferred, got my bachelor's, went to a public university for my bachelor's, and then went and got my master's.
Yeah.
So it was a much more economical course. So yes, I have student loans, but I'm not a six-figure student loan owner.
Right.
I do
Right.
not have that much of an obligation as that. The
Mm-hmm.
next thing is for my daughter, same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Look into whatever. A lot of those community colleges have scholarships that if your child gets a decent grades, they'll get a full ride. Look
Right.
into those things. You can get scholarships for volunteering.
But just
Um,
about everything. There was a young man who I think is called, have you heard of this? It's called Scally.com.
yes, I have. I have.
Okay. Yeah, because it was a young man. He went out and got all these scholarships so that he basically went to school for free. And then he turned around and created this website. I think it's called Scally. Can you look that up? Is it
It is.
Scally.com?
It's SCHOLLY.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
That's
I was
it.
a member. I had a website. Like I was, baby, I was on there on
Yep.
everything.
Yeah. So I would say definitely take a look
I
at
went to
that.
a public university because
Yep.
it was cheaper. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
That's what I
Mm-hmm.
did, and that's what my daughter did. I mean, and just
Mm-hmm.
being full disclosure again, my daughter didn't want to go to school, so she didn't excel while she was in class.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, she ended up not. We ended up, it ended up being not wasted money, but essentially,
Mm-hmm.
I paid and she didn't get
Right.
the grades.
Mm-hmm.
But I much rather pay community college
Mm-hmm.
rates and
Exactly. Exactly.
grades than pay
Absolutely.
university rates, and you know what I mean. But
Absolutely.
so just keeping it real, 100%
Mm-hmm.
real.
Yeah.
Um, once they get there, now that I have a master's, don't nobody ask where I got my associates from.
Mm-mm. Nope. Nope. Not
Nobody
at all.
cares.
Mm-mm. I just think I think we have to be careful getting caught up in society's idea of what we should be doing, what we shouldn't be doing. I had this conversation with my son. He was talking about going to Berkeley for graduate school,
Mhm.
and I was just like, why?
Why?
I just feel like
People not
why?
not
Because you're gonna take on
okay. And they're
you're
like,
gonna take on a couple $100,000 in debt,
mm,
and your income, you might get a bump 20-25% or so in income, but it's not worth it.
agreed. Because
It's
like
not
I was
worth it.
contemplating getting a PhD, and I
Mhm.
had a conversation with somebody else, and they was like, a PhD in business is having a business.
There
that's
you go.
that's your
Woo!
PhD in
That is
business.
your PhD. Woo, girl. That's now that right there is real talk. Okay, that's real talk. I'm
Nugget.
telling you, yes, nugget for that one. Absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely.
that's what they said.
Yeah,
It's like in business, like what you gonna do unless you're gonna be a professor. What are
right,
you gonna do with that? That's gonna justify
right.
that cost. And I had to
Yeah.
think about it, and I thought about it, and I was like, you know what?
Mm-mm. Nope.
Yeah,
Nope.
absolutely right. Absolutely nothing. I
Yeah,
think
and
you
another
go.
thing, exactly. And I would say don't push your kids, don't push them to go to school. I had this conversation, with another CPA, and she was telling me how she had pushed her daughter to go to college. Her daughter did not want to go to college, and
Same with my daughter.
she went for that semester and was just like, she didn't do anything.
Agreed. Yeah.
Yep, don't push him, give him some
She
time
had to do
to
something.
think about it.
She didn't have the option to be there and not do anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, just give him some time.
Here we go. Dual
There you
enrollment
go. Come
and
on now. Yep.
courses are a great way to earn college credit and save money. And let me tell you another way how it saved money. I had dual enrollment. It was a program called College Excel.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to be a lawyer when I was graduating. I wanted to be a lawyer since I was like in grammar school.
Okay.
And so I went into the College Excel program, which is like a dual enrollment program. Baby,
Mm-hmm.
I got in them law classes, was like, yeah, no.
At least you got a chance to it, kind of test the waters
Baby,
before.
I'm like, this ain't it.
Yes.
I'm like, I changed my major to business.
Yeah.
I
Yep.
changed my major to business. I said,
Yes.
this is not for me. This is not for
Absolutely.
me.
Absolutely. And that's, what, that's a great point. I'm glad that the person who's watching it, that they commented on that, because I actually did a podcast, with
Mhm.
a girl who was, she was like, I think she was a missions counselor or something. She did something to help the kids get into college. And that was one of the things that we talked about is like, how do you get these kids through school, without one, as parents, jeopardizing, your retirement, and then helping your kids to graduate without all the debt, and that was one of the things she said too. She said AP classes. My
Mhm.
sister actually went to college. She went to Oberlin. Whew, girl, Oberlin is really expensive.
Oh, yeah.
But she went to Oberlin And when she went into the school, she had what, at least 12 hours, 12 college credits going
Mm,
into to Oberlin, you know. And so, I would say, plan again. A lot of this stuff is just planning.
it
It
is.
really is.
It
It's just
is. Because even
planning,
a lot of community colleges, if you go to their academic advisors, they have a lot of, like, they've already created partnerships with the local universities. And they'll
Yep.
have, when I went, they had sheets. So, like, if I was in Chicago, so if you were going to Northeastern Illinois, this was your sheet that you could read for what classes are going to transfer over there,
Right.
or what degree or how much credits, like, and it will help you. Like you said, you had to be strategic and plan it out, but they
Mhm.
had sheets for each university in the area so that you can figure out, like, okay, if I want to go to this school for this, these are the classes that I need to take, this is what I need to do so that it transfers over there and it's a
Mhm.
smooth process for me.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. So like I said, it's a way to do it, but you got to plan. You got to
Yeah,
plan.
even if
You
you go to
got
a
to be strategic.
university.
And then here's the other thing, parents, so if there are any parents out here watching this, is that you're going to have to take those emotions, as hard as it is. Ooh, girl, I know, and you're gonna have to, put them on the back burner. And this is where logic is really going to be important. Is crunching those numbers. That's important. We really get emotional when it comes to, what school we want to send our kids to. We want to send our kids to whatever their number one school is, on their list. We want to get our babies there, and we tell our kids like, oh, you just you go, whatever it is, we're gonna figure it out.
That's true. That's true. And too, even if they are going to a university, you still can have them take their general education classes at a community college.
Yep, and have
So
them
no matter
transfer
what
in.
degree you going for, you need English 101.
Yep,
Like,
yep.
they can take those type of classes at the community college and just blend them together. And that way, again, you're still saving money.
Right, exactly, exactly. There's a way to make it happen, Like I
Right.
said, if you can do the 529 plan, do it. If you can get grandparents to contribute to it, and you can ask your family, instead of giving, the kid, gifts or Christmas presents, can you help fund, the 529 plan, so you can do things along those lines to help your kids get to college without taking on all the debt. But all of this stuff, it requires a plan. So I'm just gonna just tell parents, just be careful of the plus loans. They make it way too easy to take out those loans, and there's no limit. It's not based on the parent's income. If you got a decent credit score, they'll give you a loan, and I just think that's kind of scary.
It's very scary, and it's all on purpose. Like,
Yep,
it's
that's how
very
I feel.
scary.
That's how I feel about student loans, and anyway, just credit
Yeah,
in general.
they know that you can't just go get them discharged, so they know that you're
Right.
stuck with them.
Yep.
I know
Exactly.
people who owe like $400,000
Ooh.
in student. Like, I
Ooh.
know multiple people. A lot of my coworkers,
Yeah.
they owe $400,000, $300,000 in
That's a
student.
nice house. That's a nice house. That's a nice retirement pot of money for retirement. you know. Whoo, and I just can't even imagine, just the anxiety that comes with that, because having debt is
That
just so
weight,
stressful. It's
carrying
it's anxiety producing.
carrying that weight around. Just,
Yes, it's a burden.
it is.
Yep, it's a burden. So yeah, that would be this is the other thing too that I would say, to help people as they're thinking about retirement, is do your best to start paying down your debt. So take a look at your debt situation. It's so interesting because just before I jumped on this call, I actually did a video on this tool that I love for getting out of debt. And it's basically called Vertex 42. You can just type in Vertex 42 debt free calculator, and you download it, and you can go in and put in, all of your debt, your balances, and you can create a plan to get out of debt. I would say do your best to pay off as much debt as you can before you go into retirement, including your mortgage, if at all possible. If you have a mortgage, because the less expenses that you have in retirement, then the less pot of money that you actually need to save. So that's a really important one too. Also, if possible, if you can contribute more into your employer's 401k plan. If you're over 50 and you can put in the catch up contribution this year alone, the maximum that you can put into your 401k is like $23,000. If you're over 50, you can add in another, well, I think it's $7,500. So you can basically invest 30,500. Of course, I'm talking about somebody, that's probably in a six-figure, income, who has a six-figure income. But if you got a little side hustle, and you want to figure out, how to get a break on your taxes, you can establish a retirement plan for your side hustle and put some of that money away into that side hustle as well. So those are the things that I would definitely say think about, especially as you're getting older, and you haven't saved enough, or you feel like you haven't saved enough. Then definitely take a look at those options. And here's another thing that I want to say, and that is, look at your portfolio. What are you invested in? I remember, so I do taxes, and a lot of times clients will send me, their tax documents, and they send everything. They send, all their investment statements, all their tax statements. They just send me their whole life. And so I go through and I look at their documents, and I remember having to looking at one of my clients' documents, and she sent over her investment statement. She had taken her money, and I think it was something like $100,000 that she had rolled over into Fidelity. It was a traditional IRA account, and she just left it there. Her money was invested in cash for 5 years. And this was during a time when the market was going just like this, just going straight up. So
Oh,
those are the
I had to
things
come back
that,
on screen for that.
hmm?
I said I had to come back on screen for that. So
Yeah.
in
So
cash,
those are, I want people to be thinking about, where am I invested? Because you might be putting money into your retirement account, but where are you putting it? Where are you investing it? Take a look at your statements. Look at those quarterly statements to see, make sure that your money is growing.
let me come back. So we talked about a lot today. I
We
think
did.
covered a lot of things. I hope this was helpful. I'll make sure I put her information down, of course, like usual, in the chat, so you all can get her information.
Yeah.
Um,
And I did tell Nia that if someone wanted me to just take a look at their investment portfolio, like their retirement portfolio, just to see where they were invested, that I would do, like a free 1 hour consult. So if you just want to see, come in and just ask me some questions, you can do that.
Yeah, I think that this was a much needed conversation. I think it's a really important thing that we should think about. I mean, because it's just a whole nother animal. Just think
It
about
really is.
thinking about going into some type of facility or something like that, and also the way they handle your assets. That's a whole nother, live. Like,
Hmm.
the way to me personally, the way that this system is set up, if you don't research, if you don't plan, if you're not strategic, or it really hurts you in the long run.
Right.
Because when I first found out about the way like Medicaid does, if you have any assets,
Oh, yes.
they want to deplete all your asset. Like,
Yep.
so I can't have a house, or like I can't leave a house to my family. I have to liquidate my house to be like, it's almost just set up for you not to be able to leave anything or have anything or
Right.
pass any wealth to your family or build off of it. Like, oh,
Right.
you broke and you gonna stay broke if I got anything. Like, that's almost what it's doing.
Right.
And if you
Exactly.
don't know, so you don't research and strategically learn about any of those things.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And I would say, I'm so glad that, we're having more of these conversations, that we're talking more about money, that you're able to educate people on the importance of saving, investing, emergency fund. Building wealth is a process, and it's intentional. It's not something that just happens. It means that we're thinking about our money, just like the person who put in the chat, hey, how can I find out more about these medical expenses so that I can add that to a part of my spending plan for retirement? That's forward thinking. And that's how we need to be thinking about our money. Don't just accept the status quo, really think about, okay, what do I want retirement to look like? Okay, if I know that I want to take vacations every year, or 2-3 times a year in during my retirement, then add that into your plan. I'm not saying that we have to plan to be broke. We don't, no, we're not doing that. We are planning for a full life, one that we can enjoy, one that gets us motivated and want to get up and work, but that also means that it has to be balanced. We can't do everything we want today, but figure out, what are your emotional needs? What is it that you need right now? And then let's make sure that that's fulfilled. And then let's make sure that we're also saving for the future you, because that future you is going to need to be fulfilled as well.
Yes. Nugget.
I gotta get one.
No, that was a great way to end on. Like, oh my gosh, that was great.
Thank you. Thank you so
that was
much.
a great ending to say. Like, it was, to me, the perfect way to cap it off. So with that being said, I need you to give websites. Like,
oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, can I who you are, where you at?
Can I write in the chat? Oh, girls, a lot of things in the chat. I didn't even know the chat was here. Y'all can tell I'm not all that tech savvy. I'm not like Nia. Okay, how do I connect? Let me see. Ooh, girl, I don't know what I did. Uh-oh. How do I connect? It said connect to comment. I don't know how to do that. All right.
Oh, I don't know.
I don't know, girl. It took me over to YouTube. So basically, Nia, why don't you just send them? I'll send it. Let me see. I'll send them retirereadyinc.com. I'll just send that over to you. Can you see it, Nia, in private chat or no?
I can see it. I just typed it in while you were saying it. I typed it in the chat.
Okay. All right. And then I'm on Facebook, Retire Ready 2. There we go. Yeah. So again, just know
that's on
Facebook, Retire Ready 2.
Okay. And then Facebook.com, Retire Ready 2. Same thing for Instagram too, right?
Yep. Instagram is Retire Ready 2.
Okay. I like to put the whole link because I just.
Oh yeah, I'm sure it makes it easier.
It makes life easier for a lot of people.
Yeah, I'm sure. Go ahead, honey.
No, I was just gonna say, like, I just really appreciate you coming. I really enjoyed this conversation. I think it is just. I'm pretty sure it was eye-opening. I know 2 people who definitely wanted it, but they were unable to see it, so they're going to be watching on the replay. One of them, she's traveling, and there was the ones who the questions they gave the questions because they knew they wouldn't be available. So that's what the 2 ladies that had the questions. So yes, thank you for coming. We're going to go ahead and end this. We went past our 8 o'clock. We were so into the conversation.
Girl, I enjoy this. Yeah, you know I love talking about money.
Yes, and we have to do another one.
Yeah, go ahead, honey.
Not necessarily like part of just the live on all the channels everywhere. And it don't have to necessarily be about retirement, but it could be about investing or different things. We can pick whatever we want to talk about, but we definitely need to do another one.
Absolutely. I agree. I definitely agree. Like I said, thank you for allowing me to come on your platform and just do what I enjoy doing. And that's just really helping to educate people to make good financial decisions. We deserve it.
We deserve it. We worth it.
Yep, we are. Yep, we are definitely worth it. So thank you, darling. Bye-bye, everybody. Thank you for showing up.
Good one. We're going to go ahead and end this live.
Okay, take care now.
Hold on, let me do my outro.
You want me to stay for the outro?
You can.